So what do you have for us today?
Well, today we're talking about opening the borders of Africa, which we know is very important. Well, it's been over a year since the launch of the African passport, which was launched in Rwanda and illustrated, and the launch of the African passport in Rwanda, which illustrated the growing demand among many African states for the African Union to facilitate the free movement of people throughout the continent. Over the last year, a number of AU member states have removed visa requirements for African nationals. Early in the year, the African Development Bank, I beg your pardon, released a report on visa openness, which we highlighted here on Africanews and on the travel segment. The report advocates free movement of labor, capital, goods and services to promote economic development. But it finds that African citizens need visas to travel to more than half, which is 55% of the continent's countries. Of the 20 most visa-open countries, 75 are either in the East or West Africa. None have been in Central Africa, the report stated. The state of the free movement of people in Africa differs from one region to another. Of this, West Africa is the most advanced, with inhabitants of the 15 member countries of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, can travel, get resident permits and work in member countries. The East African Community, EAC, is second most advanced of the regional economic communities. Its member states adopted a protocol establishing a common market in 2009. This agreement includes a free cross-border movement of people, an integrated border management system, the right of establishment and residence, and the removal of restrictions on the movement of labor and services. In order to speed up the implementation of this protocol, Rwanda, Uganda and Kenya have removed visa requirements for EAC citizens, allowing them to travel only with identity documents, while South African Development Community, SADC, adopted the protocol on facilitation of the movement of people in 2005. It has been ratified only by Botswana, Swaziland, South Africa and Mozambique. Nevertheless, things are now changing in Central Africa. A week ago, the government of Equatorial Guinea announced it is ending the entry visa requirements for citizens of 6 member countries of the Economic Community of Central African States, that is CEMAC. According to the decision, nationals of Congo, Cameroon, Gabon, Equatorial Guinea and Chad no longer need a visa to travel to Equatorial Guinea. The Republic of Congo, on the other hand, also announced a lifting of visa requirements for citizens of Central African Bloc. In a government communication dated October 23rd, the Ministry of Interior and Decentralization said all nationals of CEMAC region could enter Congolese territory without visa for any trip not exceeding 90 days. The visa waiver decision was taken in accordance with the agreement reached in 2013 on the freedom of movement in Central Africa. We spoke to Amando Cole, a political journalist in Cameroon, who delved further on this, explaining why it took long for them to adopt this. Take a listen.
Listen, the countries of Central Africa are determined by their selfishness. We have certainly found out that there are those who felt because they had either the oil boom or the mining boom, it was important to close the borders, lest the others invade them and rob their different wealth. This was especially the case with Chad at some point, but more so Equatorial Guinea and Gabon. It took the institutions of Bretton Woods, including the IMF, to put pressure on them to understand that the world had become a global village. The commercial ventures were not being self-sufficient, but in an entirely global way.
Meanwhile, Namibia has gotten the ball rolling on plans to scrap visa requirements for African passport holders after the cabinet authorized the implementation of this process to be carried out in line with diplomatic procedures. Namibia will soon start issuing African passport holders with visas on arrival at ports of entry as a first step towards the eventual abolition of all visa requirements for all Africans. However, no deadline has been announced for the conclusion of the visa-free regime with all countries. Namibia and other African states have long considered the possibility of a common continental passport by 2018 as part of the African Union's Agenda 2063. According to the Namibian visa policy, the government of Namibia allows citizens of specific countries and territories to travel to Namibia for tourism or business purposes for 3 months with an ordinary passport and diplomatic and services passports without having to obtain a visa. All visitors must hold a passport valid for 6 months. Well, that's it from me from this week's travel segment. Till next time, enjoy the rest of your viewing.